a point in my life where I need to decide what I want to do. Do I want to go and continue on my journey to be a lawyer, or do I want to kind of do something that I love and be in the food industry?
Oh,
And
so that would, to me, that sounds like two different completely ends of like the spectrum. So that's a big
yeah,
decision.
and it's funny that you say that because that's part of my creed now, to change the narrative on that. And because growing up, honestly, as a Black male, no one ever told me that you can be successful, you could be a chef, you can have a restaurant, you can be a cook. It was always like a lower scale thing. So
Mhm.
imagine, as a young male, you going home to your girlfriend's parents and you're like, I want to cook, or I want to
Or
be a
I want to be a
lawyer.
lawyer.
You got to go with the latter because they.
Welcome back to the Ground Up Podcast. This is episode 57. This is the podcast that helps people with entrepreneur dreams get started and help business owners keep going. Today, we're bringing you Daquan Woodberry, better known as Chef DQ. He is a professionally trained chef, former Marine, restaurant owner, delivery service app creator, business consultant, and now adventuring in the tech restaurant business space. Woo, all the things. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you, for having me.
Well, I just said like a mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done and are doing quite a lot. Let's go back though. Tell us a little about yourself. Give us some background.
Background. I mean, I was born in New York. I don't claim it though, because I was only there for a couple of years. Everybody's like, you come from New York, and hey. I'm like, I was
Yeah.
there and left before I could even talk. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
not really from there, But I'm gonna plug it in there a little bit, But yeah, I moved down here when I was a kid. I grew up pretty much mainly on north side of Richmond, kind of Chamberlain, Laburnum area,
Yeah.
over that area right there. So I went to Wilder, went to Henrico, then went to a private Christian school, VCA. And I went to the Marines right after high school. I came back, went up to Virginia Tech, was working on a degree there that I don't even use. And
Well,
then I
look, that
came,
happens a lot. So,
right. It's fine though. It's fine though. And I came back, and I just found my passion in food, and I finally followed my dreams. I would say a lot of that is I attest that to my wife. When we were dating and things like that, I asked her a question because I tend to not date for no reason. I was like, look, just gonna go somewhere. I want you to know I was fairly young. We'll get into that though, but I was fairly 22, 23.
you
And I
met
was
your
like,
wife.
look, yeah. I was like, I have a point in my life where I need to decide what I want to do. Do I want to go and continue on my journey to be a lawyer, or do I want to kind of do something that I love and be in the food industry?
Oh,
And
so that would, to me, that sounds like two different completely ends of like the spectrum. So that's a big
yeah,
decision.
and it's funny that you say that because that's part of my creed now, to change the narrative on that. And because growing up, honestly, as a Black male, no one ever told me that you can be successful, you could be a chef, you can have a restaurant, you can be a cook. It was always like a lower scale thing. So
Mhm.
imagine, as a young male, you going home to your girlfriend's parents and you're like, I want to cook, or I want to
Or
be a
I want to be a
lawyer.
lawyer.
You got to go with the latter because they got something to be proud about. So and again, you tell your grandmother, what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a lawyer because that's what's gonna make her proud. So
Right.
I held that secret, in me for so long, that this is something that I love to do. And no one told me that I could actually make a career out of it and actually be proud about it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's real. That's a reality to that. There are dreams in people that they don't feel like are logical. I even struggle with that. I think I went to school for something logical and went down a very logical, expected path. But, I had dreams of being a writer and, writing TV shows and whatnot, and just didn't think that that was something like, realistic, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And that's a big thing, and that's what I aspire to do, is to inspire, other people in our culture, people that look like me. And anybody out here that's like, I love to cook and they may not know, now I think it's a little bit easier because we have celebrity chefs, we have all of these shows that, kind of have put being a chef on a pedestal.
True.
When I was growing up, only really person I could say was kind of in the limelight was Anthony Bourdain, right? So he's one of my, heroes and things like that. But, I was the only example. You didn't have, a bunch of different people to say, oh, look, that's something I can, take home to mom and say, look, I'm going to do this.
So you ended up making that decision, obviously, to, go to culinary school and become a chef. But you didn't necessarily have to go into entrepreneurship. What led to you opening up your restaurant? Because that was your first step into entrepreneurship, correct?
Yeah. I will say entrepreneurship. I mean, we're gonna have to go forward and backwards a lot in stories.
Isn't that life?
Yeah. Entrepreneurship really started for me as a kid.
Okay.
My dad is an entrepreneur. He owns a cleaning service, right? That he's owned a number of. So all of the car dealerships that you see down everywhere in Richmond, pretty much my dad has been cleaning them since we were kids. He's had big accounts downtown. A lot of the high-rise buildings he has the account to do. So I have been pushing vacuums since I was smaller than a vacuum.
The bigger picture, though, it may have been cleaning, but did you see that your dad was his own boss? Did you realize that?
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really interesting. So my father, I knew how to do P&L statements before I knew how to do multiplication. So he was not a joke when it came to learning about money, learning about how to, take care of yourself and run a business. I knew all about, he let me in. He was not, my father was more of a friend to me than anything. And some people may take that as, something that may be sometimes negative because they're like, oh, you didn't really have a really great, hallmark relationship with my father, but he definitely prepared me for life, and I am internally grateful for that. So he taught me from the day one when I knew anything about money was how to make it work for you and how to make money work for you and you not work for money.
Yeah, where do you think that came from in your dad?
I think it came from him, even from my grandmother, of teaching that. But, just being honest, they grew up in Brooklyn, in the 60s and 70s. And, life was kind of hard. So, in order to make it, feed yourself, you had to get creative. And I think he took that and his wits from being creative. And, instead of saying, let's go down, some of the bad routes that you could go down with that, he decided to make, a real living out of that. And that's partially the reason why he moved down to Virginia, to kind of get away from that life that, could get you astray in New York, and said, look, I'm going to do something down here. I saw my dad doing really well. And the thing about it is it's funny because I tell a story to everybody. But for the first day that I saw my father literally take a day off of work was the day that I graduated from the Marine Corps. So he didn't take a day off of Christmas, holidays, birthdays, none of that. He didn't care.
That says a lot about entrepreneurship though, too,
Yeah. And that was it, and that taught me that's what it takes to be successful. That level of consistency, and people don't realize that, you working for yourself, that's fine. But that means you working harder than going to an actual job.
Say it again. Yes. So you did go to culinary school, I know. And so since you already had that upbringing with entrepreneurship, just kind of in your blood, when you went into the chef world, did you already foresee yourself having your own establishment?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be something for myself. My aunt actually owned a restaurant here in Richmond, right there on the Hall Street, pretty much right beside Croker Spot, a number of years back, called Vibes Cuisine. It was a Jamaican restaurant there, and it was kind of like a nightclub. And she did well there. And I worked there in my coming up years for a little bit. She moved down to Atlanta a couple years back. So I saw that it was possible in that area. And I will definitely say, coming out of school. So I went to Stratford down on Broad Street and Short Pump, right? I ain't going nowhere special. It's
Don't say that.
but I say that in regards to saying that, I want the veil to be broken for a lot of people to say, in order to be some big time chef, you got to go to, Johnson and Wales, you got to go to, the American Culinary Institute of America, you got to go to
I
Italy,
understand.
you got to go to, it's like, look, you can make something of yourself right here in your backyard, right? And that is what I try to tell people. And I went there and I got the same good training anybody else got. All of the chefs there, they went to the big fancy schools and taught me what they need to know. So that was the cool part about that. But my first job out of Stratford was Wegmans. So I opened up all of the Wegmans here. So the Wegmans, Short Pump, Midlothian, Charlottesville.
When all the weddings opened up here, I mean, all of us, everybody was so excited because it was like a
Uh-huh.
different level of grocery shopping experience. And the hot bar, man, yes.
There you go. So the hot bar, right? So if you've gone on any of those hot bars, I was managing most of those hot bars when they first came out into the Richmond market. So especially in Short Pump, that was my baby, right? And so I literally watched, and this is what led me to knowing that the world of food was changing in such a dynamic way, because I saw people coming to a grocery store to still buy made food. And I was like, wait, what? And so, obviously my executive chef, he allowed me to wear, an executive chef hat a lot of times, right? So I could essentially get into the actual business of Wegmans and it not be my own, right? So I was able to see, a thing called penetration. And I was like, look, the actual numbers now is the whole entire grocery store, the prepared food section was actually outselling the entire grocery store. And I was like, wait, what? And then we would literally, and they're probably, obviously Wegmans is a big superpower at this point. They're anything that I say is going to take them down. But it's funny because I said sometimes we would run out of like the kitchen's green beans, right? We would make all of them, we would sell all of them, and then we have to wait for another shipment to come in. So we would literally walk to produce,
Yeah.
buy the green beans for 99 cents a pound, blanch and shock them, and then sell them for $10 a pound. And people would come and buy them. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Thank you for
People
this.
just don't want to, we don't want to do nothing.
No, they don't. They're lazy. People are lazy. And let me tell you. So I say in my head was churning. I was like, oh, okay. I see what we can do here. If they can do this, I can do this. So, I was like, all right, let me figure out all the things. And so I started, my mind works in, wonderful ways when it comes to, numbers and food and putting things together. So I just started figuring out how I can, run my own thing. And it led me to opening up my own restaurant, RVA Cafe.
Right, so tell me about RVA Cafe.
Yeah, RVA Cafe. I mean, it was aligned in the stars for us. I would definitely say, a lot of times, my grandmother probably come back and beat me for it. But a lot of times I'm not super deep in spiritual. I grew up in church, but I do believe that there's a higher power, and I do believe a lot of your steps are ordered. So I was blessed enough to be able to build my house right on the west end of Henrico. And when I built my house, getting excited, you're about to close, you see it actually building up. I was just walking around the neighborhood like, okay, well, let's see what's around the neighborhood, with stores and things like that, get a feel for the neighborhood. And, I walked into RVA Cafe. It was an older couple that, essentially they were just there. They had Jeopardy on. They had a couple older people in there just looking at Jeopardy, waiting for their food, having a conversation. And then we started having a conversation. And I was telling them, hey, I'm trying to get into the restaurant industry. And lo and behold, they were trying to get out.
Wow. So wait a minute. RVA Cafe was a business restaurant that you bought. It was already established.
Yeah, it was already established.
I had no idea.
And that's funny because no one knew.
Yeah, you're known for that. I didn't know there was other owners.
It was just a little restaurant. Like I said, it was an older couple. They didn't do any marketing. I mean, it was literally, kind of a staple in the neighborhood for the older crowd that would literally come, get their tomato soup and their club sandwich and sit there for hours, and nobody bothered them, And so when I came in there, they had a thing, Grubhub, right? So their son would essentially come in, he would grab an order and then take it. And I was like, well, wait, how are you getting this order? Like, what's I just started having conversation. They're like, yeah, we have Grubhub and he's delivering the order. So I was like, my mind is in business mode. Like, well, how are y'all making it? You see a restaurant, you seen customers coming in, coming out. I sat there with these people for like 4 hours and I saw nobody coming in and out.
So they just had their regulars and they had people who would order and they would deliver.
Yep.
So what did that tell you?
So that's essentially, we spoke a little bit and I was like, well, this is what I want to do. And they wanted to sell it. They wanted to retire, go to Florida. And I said, look, I didn't have a lot of money at the time.
Like, I know my next question was going to ask you, how did you fund it?
Yeah, I was like, look, I don't have money. They said, well, we want to sell it for X. I was like, I don't got X. But what I can do is I can work. I got an X amount of work. So what I did was I, gave them a proposal. I said, look, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to work with you for a couple months for free. I'm going to show you guys that I can run this business myself. And I did. And then we went into the agreement, kind of a handshake agreement, no lawyers, no banks, no anything of that. And I pretty much paid them all. I paid them every week. And, it's funny because I didn't really pay them. Their business paid them. So I really came into RVA Cafe almost for free, just off of hard work ethic, and had the business paying them a weekly stipend until it was paid off.
Not to make this about me, but this is why I love the Ground Up podcast, because what you just said is going to light up so many ears. Mm-hmm. People need to know that things can happen with creativity, with hard work, with ethic, with strategy. I mean, that's what you did there. Because my first question when you told me that, you basically bought the business is, well, how did you come up with that kind of money? And it was your creativity, your work ethic, your strategy.
Yep, that's it. That's all it did. And I had to employ a couple of my family members. So my uncle, he moved down from New York. We were really close. So he said, hey, he's free. He said he wanted to move down to Virginia anyway. So this was a good reason. So he moved down to Virginia. He worked with me. We did some months that was hard, that we didn't really get paid that much, right? Had to eat some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but we paid them off, and it was fine just through that creativity. My wife, she helped me, on the weekends. She had a job, but she helped me on the weekends and things like that. I mean, even if I can reverse, and I know we don't have that much time, but it's crazy that, and I want to put this out for a lot of people because I think it can help. Just like you said, certain things can really help people. That a lot of people, they're scared. They don't want to move. They say entrepreneurship is hard. It's scary. And I realize it is, but the scariest thing is really not following your dream and really not jumping off that cliff, because you don't know what's on the other side. And, I'll be honest. So when essentially I built my house and I closed on my house, right? So I did all this before we were ready to close. I figured out, all this RVA cafe stuff. We didn't figure out exactly what the terms were and things like that. It was just conversation at that point. But that conversation clicked in my head to say, I have to do this. I have to jump off this cliff. I have to go and follow my dreams and do what I want to do, and I loved Wegmans. I will never speak bad about them. It was a great, great job, right? And lo and behold, the day, and my wife, she probably still wants my head rolling down Broad Street, but the day that we closed on our house, I don't know if anybody knows, when you go and you close on the house, you got to get all the closing lawyer and your real estate agent, and you have to sign a piece of paper that says you still have a job, the same job that you got qualified for the loan with.
Well, and people don't know what they're signing, but yeah.
I signed that paper, and then I drove to Wegmans and I quit.
You were gonna do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
You were ready.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, hey, my family life is good.
Look, Wegmans got you your home, got you to build your house,
Right?
Hey.
Built a house, everything's good. The wife is happy. Look, now I'm going to do my own thing. And, I just went and I had to do what I had to do. And, it's funny because, it was step by step. I started immediately getting so many catering orders, so many personal chef orders, to the point where I needed a space. So it's like my business was telling me, I could no longer, I exhausted my friends, saying, hey, can I use your restaurant to do this catering order, to do this gig?
So why couldn't you do it at RVA Cafe?
Well, I didn't have RVA Cafe yet. So that's why I said I was backing up.
Okay.
Saying that, essentially I closed my house, and then I left, and I was like, this still RVA Cafe conversation was happening,
okay.
but it wasn't into fruition yet.
So in the meantime, you're catering and you're doing so when you quit Wegmans, you took a risk on yourself. You didn't have RVA Cafe in your back pocket yet. You said, I'm gonna go out on a limb and start working off of my chef skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you have to do. And I implore people to know, like, entrepreneurship is all about recognizing. So it's not about a door opening. It's about recognizing that there is a door, right? So when you see the door, it's like, now you have to prepare yourself to walk through that door. And if you're always preparing yourself to go right, and your entrepreneurship door is left, you can't do both. And I tell people, you can't go north and south at the same time. You can't say I'm driving up to New York, but you're really driving to Florida at the same time. You can't do it. So it's like, you have to pick one. And that's what is the hardest thing people have to know. Entrepreneurship requires you to pick one, and there is no option. And that's what I did. I said, look, there was a light bulb in my head that said I could do this. And I had to start preparing myself and fitting my life to say, you need to do this, right? So that's what I did. And lo and behold, it took a year. So it wasn't a quick process. We opened and officially took over RVA Cafe the next December. I closed my house December of 2017, and we opened RVA Cafe December of 2018.
Wow, so there's a new business in town.
Golden Touch Mobile Detailing.
If you're in the Richmond, Virginia area and tired of riding dirty,
or you appreciate a deep clean,
book an appointment with Golden Touch Mobile Detailing. It's not your average car wash. Full interior and exterior cleaning, and Golden Touch Mobile Detailing comes to you.
It's the attention to detail to make you a returning customer.
Follow the Instagram at Golden Touch RVA and book your appointment.
I guarantee you'll be riding clean.
Wow, so a whole year. So once you got RVA Cafe opened, what was it that you did maybe differently than the last owners, but that made it grow and thrive and become profitable for you?
Yeah, so that goes into pretty much what I do right now. So I recognized way back then that the delivery apps was the future, right? So I recognized that people were getting food on delivery all the time. And I said, oh, wait, so because when we bought the restaurant, we were able to see some of their financials. And I recognized that they weren't making a lot of money, but the money that they were making was all on delivery. And I said, okay, well, if I double down on this and make this into a real thing. So what I did was I changed the menu. I changed it to mainly just breakfast, right? Our French toast is to die for. And, I I just went heavy on delivery apps. So I opened Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash accounts, and I just went all the way into that and said, look, this is what I'm going to do because I see, because, running a restaurant is quite hard sometimes, right? When you have to have servers, bussers, dishwashers, hosts, all of those things. Yeah. And when you don't have that, well, you don't have to pay for them and you're just putting food in a delivery box and going out the door. So all I needed was a chef and a person in the front, and that was it. Yeah. We had at maximum 4 tables at the front, and that was it. And so, we were really, really successful doing that. And, it's funny because I spent all of 2018, all of 2019 doing that. And then we come to 2020. Right?
That's what I was waiting for you to talk about.
Yeah. And so let me tell you, 2020, February, right? Before everything went haywire. February of 2020, that whole year, I started seeing how successful I was. It was unbelievable. Even my CPA that does my taxes was like, what? You made how much in your first year? Restaurants, they don't even crack this until like year 5. And, I started making friends with like Mom Michelle's, because we went to school together, Charles Kitchen, Urban Hang Suite. I started talking to different people, trying to just get some information from them, network. And, they've been in the game a lot longer than me. So I'm like, hey, help me. That's what I'm big about. Give me some advice that I can listen to because you guys have been doing it longer than I have. And then, started getting into some serious conversations. I'm like, wait, I'm doing kind of good, And so what I started doing was I recognized that other restaurants didn't know what I knew. And so I said, okay, well, let me start helping some of my restaurant friends that have helped me. So what I did was I helped Mom Michelle's, Charles Kitchen, Stump's Pig and Pints. It was a lot of different restaurants. Taiwan, it was a couple of different food trucks even, Taiwan On. They just opened up their new restaurant, so I'm really proud about them. And it was midway, probably like December of 2019. I started doing this for them. I started setting up their delivery apps. I started managing it for them, and it was really good. So I wanted to see if I could replicate what I was doing for myself. And I sure enough did. And so speed around a couple months, February 2020, I launched my consulting business officially, right? And what I did was I said, my tagline, which is probably going to go on my gravestone, is that sit-down restaurants are no longer going to be a thing. Everything is going to be delivery. Delivery is the future of restaurants. And sooner or later, in about a year, I said in about 3 to 5 years, no one will ever come and sit down in your restaurant again. That's what I said. Now, when I said that, and then March came, when I said people was looking at me like, what kind of devil voodoo you done did?
And then the pandemic hit.
And I was like, well, I didn't know it was going to be this. I didn't know this was going to be this quickly, things like that. And so effectively what I did was I said, look, I had, services that was charging and, it was charging pretty good amounts, but, I believed in my consulting because I saw restaurants that I was literally tripling, quadrupling their revenue, right?
Yeah. Let me make sure I got this right though. So you're running your own restaurants. Still, Aria Cafe. Now you're consulting and helping other people be profitable through delivery. And I'm assuming you're charging for that service, right?
Yeah.
So now you've got 2 different forms of income coming in. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
I want to point that out.
Oh no, you keep. And I was helping restaurants, and that was such a passion of mine. And I was so happy to see other restaurants do so well. And so I was charging for it, but I only was charging for it for about 2 months, right? Because then I saw how serious this pandemic was. Because 2020, I feel like we really didn't take it seriously to like the summertime, right? It was like, it was like, government saying this, whatever. And then, May came around, they start shutting this thing down for real. And we was like, oh, they serious, so that was the thing that shook me. And I said, okay, look, I started seeing restaurants that I frequented close, like just go out of business. And I was like, wait, what? So what I did was I canceled all of my fees and I started doing this for free.
Wow.
So I went to all kinds of restaurants and I was literally setting them up, helping them, teaching them every single day, managing it for them, really walking them through the process of how to do delivery correctly, all for free. And I did that for the whole of 2020. And, and so at the end, skipping forward because to save time, at the end of 2020, because I recognized and I said, look, I know how to work these delivery apps like the back of my hand. I'm, 1990s baby. So I grew up with the computer, so I can tinker and get in between and understand all of these things. I say we MySpace people, I know how to write some code now. Come on now. So, but it's funny because at the end of midway through 2020, I was like, well, they have this app, DoorDash, Uber, Grubhub, that they charge you 30%, right? And that's a pretty high charge.
Restaurants 30%?
They charge restaurants 30% commission.
Ooh, I didn't know it was
you buy a burger, you buy a burger for $10, that restaurant's only seeing $7 of that. Then they got to pay taxes. Then they got to pay their staff. Then they got to pay for the food. So they really only seeing maybe $1 out of that burger that you spent $10 on, right? And so that right there, I was like, okay, this is good, but it got to be something better, right? So what I said was, why can't I do this myself?
He said, I'm gonna create better. This is where guys, this is where I know him from. This is where I caught on to you guys, because I said, wait, it's not every day you see, a local Black owned app, delivery app. So I'll let you lay that out.
Yeah. So what I did was I launched Loco. So Loco RVA, we launched that December. December has been my month. I don't know what it is, but December is a real good month for me. Christmas come real good, right? So instead of me getting presents, I get businesses some kind of way. So December came of 2020 and I officially launched Loco RVA. And that was our own delivery service, our own delivery app where we can literally tell people, hey, if you don't want to use these apps that charge the restaurant a lot of money, this is what you can do, and you can actually do it for a lot cheaper. So I started learning, I started getting involved, doing my research and realizing that you really only need to charge like 10% maybe to, stay profitable for that business, right? You got to pay your drivers, pay your staff, pay all your insurances and things like that. It doesn't really cost that much.
So wait, you're telling me that like Grubhub, Uber is charging 30%, whereas you started this app and you were charging 10%?
Well, we were charging 15. And
I was going to say that's not even half. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. That's
we were charging 15 because you have a lot of startup costs, right? So a lot of these things now, just being transparent at this point, I'm launching Loco off of the money that I'm getting from RVA Cafe. So see, I'm like, okay, well, instead of I have one successful business, instead of me saying, well, let me buy some Gucci pants and go to the beach, I'm like, let's start another business, let's invest it back.
Can you tell us, because I know so many businesses that starting an app is a part of their vision. Mm-hmm. What is that process like? What does that look like? How was that for you?
So I was telling you the best advice I can give is to go outside of yourself, realize your limits, right? So say, hey, look, I'm not good at social media. I am not good at building an app. So you know what I did? I went and found people that were good. And I said, look, we're going to build this app. I'm going to pay you because you're good at this. And then I'm going to do the work to get it out there. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, that's my best advice. People say, well, I want to do it all. You can't. It's like, you got to go to what you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a tech guru, you want to be a business guru, you want to be a marketing guru. Like, you can't do all of that.
And that's something I think is so important to highlight, because you go into whatever your niche or your field is of entrepreneurship, but you soon realize that you might be good at the craft, but there are going to be so many parts that makes the business successful that you yourself not necessarily, I don't want to say capable, but it's not necessarily your strong point. And so it does take when you get to a level to be able to outsource and get help and build a team, it's almost necessary to really be successful.
Yeah, it is necessary.
Yeah.
And it's necessary for the entrepreneur to recognize that in themselves and then start making the decisions to get them to the next level. Because at one point, you're CEO, you have to start, acting like one. It's not, we just throw around the word CEO just to say, oh, this is important. This is a big fancy title. But no, you're actually managing a whole full business at this point. So now you have to take responsibility and say, what people do I need in my downturn? What do I need on my staff to make this business run? I can't run a whole restaurant myself. So what did I do? I needed servers. I needed somebody to wash the dishes. I needed somebody to prep. I needed a person to cashier. It's the same thing, once you start getting up. So, I launched Loco in 2020. I was more than happy with the amount of success we got from that. A lot of people supported us in that. I was really, really grateful for the amount of support we got. We started going up and, getting a lot of restaurants on board to believe in us and give us a chance, and I would say, so midway through 2020, I got approached by a company called K-Box. So K-Box was a big time company, in the UK.
Wow.
And they said they were going to effectively, they were looking at smaller local delivery services to invest in, right? And they happened upon us and they said, well, I got a chance to talk to the CEO and we spoke. We had a really, really good conversation. She really loved what I was doing. And she said, well, I don't want to invest. So at first I was like, oh, well, man, and I really wasn't looking for an investor anyway. I really wanted to build it from the ground up and we were going to build it as a co-op. So, I wanted, the other restaurant owners to have shares and own it too. And so I really wasn't looking for that anyway. And so she came back maybe like 2 weeks later and said, look, they're moving into the United States market with their business. And she wants me to be on the board and actually do and move her business into the United States for her and be their United States representative for the entire United States. And now,
come on now, that had to be a moment for you. You were like, what were you thinking?
What I was thinking, so you ever seen Lizzie McGuire? You grew up with Lizzie McGuire?
Yes.
Little cartoon on the side. So my little cartoon on the side was like, you sure? Me, Daquan? My name Daquan. I'm Black. You see, you sure it's me? It's not somebody else.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm not the pretty Black. I'm the regular Black. I don't got the pretty eyes. I ain't light skinned. I'm black. And my name is Daquan. Like, come on now. They gonna know I'm Black from the door.
So, how early you said, coming into RVA Cafe was like divine intervention. I mean, can't you say you see it again in your life?
Oh yeah. And it's funny because it again, your steps are ordered and it's like I can't even say anything about that, man. It's like it's crazy. So she approached me. We went through some months of deliberation and what it's going to look like because we wanted to partner. And of course, I'm still like, look, I'm an entrepreneur now. I don't like working with people. That's not in my blood.
That's true. I didn't think about that aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, it sounds good. All, her business. I started doing research. They raise millions and millions of dollars and they this and they're valued at, $40 million and all this thing. So I was like, yeah, that sounds good. It's fine. But, I got to have something in here that is connected to me, and, midway through the summer, we finalized, our partnership, and, I came on board with K-Box, and, and now I'm able to now have the resources behind me and the team behind me to now not just do this for my local community, but do this nationwide and do this worldwide. So as I went from little old RVA Cafe in Richmond, Virginia, to now, RVA Cafe, we've closed the actual restaurant, but now RVA Cafe will be a virtual brand that people can experience all over the world.
Wow. All right. Well, let's dive into that. What, you're speaking a different language in a way. So what does this mean? What is this type of business?
So virtual restaurants are essentially what we were doing already, but not just taking out the brick and mortar part, right? So virtual restaurant is a restaurant that operates wholly and solely off of a delivery app. So I was already there because 99% of all of my revenue came from a delivery app. I didn't want to see people come to my restaurant. I was happy nobody came. And when COVID hit and we put the chairs and the tables at the door, we wouldn't even let people in the door. I was like, good, I'm gonna see y'all anyway. Order delivery, we're gonna get it to you. You can be able to eat it at your house, and that's it, right? So now it's just making a better, like a name for it, right? So, and the thing about this is, I came upon this kind of in my own right. And so it wasn't that, I saw it somewhere and I was like, no, this just makes sense. And so essentially what you can do is now RVA Cafe, right? Because we've closed, I still have all of my recipes, I still have all my pictures, my branding, all of that stuff. And now I can now place that RVA Cafe. I can say, give it to Mom Michelle's Cafe on a complete other side of town and teach Mom Michelle's how to create and make RVA Cafe's food. And now she can sell it over there on delivery. And you don't have to change the name on the building. You don't have to change any of your marketing. It's just living on a delivery app. So when people live out in Chesterfield, Midlothian area that couldn't get me over in the West End, they pull up Uber Eats, Grubhub, Loco, DoorDash, whatever, and say, oh, I can get RVA Cafe over here. And so that's essentially, if you will, the new age franchise. And I'm gonna tell you a little secret, exclusive here on the Ground Up podcast right here. For everybody listening, you better go get your Junior Bacon cheeseburgers from Wendy's, because Wendy's is going to be the first one to go. Wendy's will be gone in about 3 to 5 years, right? You're not going to see Wendy's on any corner because Wendy's will be probably the first big chain to go all the way virtual. Now they're going to go to your local mom and pop shop and say, hey, local mom and pop shop, do you want to sell a Junior Bacon cheeseburger? And you're going to just only be able to find Wendy's on Uber Eats and DoorDash, because over in other countries, there's no Wendy's. In the UK, there's no physical Wendy's. There's just virtual restaurants.
Virtual, the new wave. I mean, I would not be surprised. Like that's wild. Yeah. So what does life look like now for you? So are you still doing the local delivery app, or have you turned that over now that you're doing K-Box?
Yeah. So I realized, because, the next journey of entrepreneurship is, again, learning your limits, figuring out what your direction is. Because once you start having a lot of success, you believe that you're Superman and you can do everything all at one time. And I realized I couldn't. Right. So we've closed RVA Cafe with the full thought that this is going to go all the way virtual. And we will be able to set up multiple RVA cafes in multiple states and in multiple countries. But Loco is a full scale business that you got to run every single day. And I realized I couldn't do that. So what we've merged a lot of our businesses together with what we're doing with K-Box, right? So K-Box was the vehicle for me to turn RVA Cafe into a whole virtual brand. Mm-hmm. And now it's the vehicle for me to now help multiple restaurants learn how to do delivery. Because the thing about Loco is what it taught me was that, one, not saying you're not, but it's a hard thing to say you're going to essentially take down big giants, right? That has millions and millions of dollars in marketing and things like that. I couldn't figure out why people wouldn't give me a chance and say, stop ordering from DoorDash, order from Loco, right? My own customers at my own restaurant wouldn't do it. And so what I learned is that now we can leverage these orders. So, without getting too far deep into it, I've used Loco to teach other restaurants. And now we can do this now with K-Box, is that I can go to a restaurant that's paying DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber 30%. And now I can get them to pay 10% because now I can finagle their system and go into their system and help them and say, look, let's turn this delivery piece and take more control of it. And I'll help you facilitate that. And now we can send it to local delivery drivers and you get to save a lot of money in that. So that's the piece that I have now. We have tech. So I have a whole entire kind of platform, a big screen, one tablet that literally brings the DoorDash, the Uber Eats, the Grubhub tablets into one. So I've gotten a chance to sit here and talk with the head of Uber, the head of DoorDash and things like that. So we've actually signed actual global deals with Uber Eats and DoorDash. And so any restaurant that I go and I help and I put my hands on and I sign up with, they actually get to pay less percentage just because they're under our umbrella. So that's the cool part about this, is that it just went from point A to point B. And this is my whole thing. And you don't know this because, right, you'll say, you see DoorDash, I tell you that on DoorDash, we have to pay 30%. And then, any entrepreneur, think about that critically. And they'll say, well, I don't think McDonald's is going to pay them that. I don't think Chick-fil-A is going to pay them that. They definitely not. And so I've been able to now use my position to now go and help every other small restaurant that I can ever, meet. So that's the cool part so that's what life looks like for me right now, is that I'm literally having conversations around, I'm headed out to San Antonio in a couple of weeks. We're going down to Tampa, Florida. We're going to Atlanta. We're going to DC. So I'm able to now talk to restaurants on kind of a national, global level and say, look, this is how I can help you. And I actually have the team behind me to be able to facilitate these things and, have a little bit of leverage. So I'll tell you, the main reason why I signed on to be with K-Box is because this was a $1 million company that I was able to have one singular direct conversation with the CEO and said, look, this is going to change the entire way the entire planet eats. This is going to change the whole food industry. I want to make sure that my community has a seat at the table. And she said, yeah, do that. And so that's what I do.
I love this. I love your story so much because you went from following your dreams for your craft for, cooking and being a chef, to a straight up businessman. It's still at your core. I'm sure it's the love of cooking and food and, but you're handling business. You were out here handling business. That's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. And, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you for all this time and tell you that it's just me. It is not. It is definitely Nicole Adrienne Proctor Woodberry.
His wife, his lovely wife. I have to say in here, I have all my guests do like a pre-interview survey questionnaire. And I actually wrote a note to myself. Oh man, did I erase it? But you had wrote how your wife, Nicole, I think you said like the best damn wife you could have ever asked for. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, I sure hope Aaron goes around saying stuff like that to people when they don't know about it, when I don't know about it. I just think that's so beautiful. And when we met you guys in person, you made a point to, because of course we're so excited to meet you, and you made a point to say, this is my wife, Nicole, and she does a lot. You mm-hmm. acknowledge. And I thought that was so, wonderful. We love Black love.
This is a partnership. And I will be honest with you. People think it's a joke. They get it's a game, but I talk to a lot of young men and I try to be, a pillar of information for our community. And I tell a lot of young men, even my son, even my, younger people in my family, like, look, you have to find you a wife that you can do your entire life with. Not just you go to work, you come home, Y'all have a little, family time. No, no, no. That person has to be that they are a part of your life, and if that person can't pour into you the most, then why are you with them? Your relationship, you know, we hear certain people say it's a business, right? Yeah, you daggone right it's a business, because guess what? If that person isn't pouring into you, how are you gonna go to work? How are you gonna do a whole business and be fulfilled? And that person is not pouring into you. Like, so I would definitely, yes, she is the best thing that ever happened to me. And and I would not be here without her, straight up and down. I'm not gonna lie and say, well, yeah, half of this story belonged to her. Because like I said, at the beginning, we were driving down to the beach and I said, what should I do? Should I be a chef or should I be a lawyer? And she said, what do you love? I said, being a chef. She said, go do that.
That's beautiful. I love it. Let me ask you this. What's been the most challenging thing about your journey in entrepreneurship and now your new journey?
I think the most challenging thing, I will being completely transparent with you, is learning as you go up and as you get more successful. That's a hard, lonely journey, right? And for me, my biggest thing was I want to take everybody with me. Like, I want to take the whole crew from around the way that I grew up with. Hey, we was out here, playing Pokemon cards and things like that. Like, look, we all gonna make it together. And you realize after a while that no matter how hard you want to try to do that, you can't take people up with you that don't want to go up. And that was the creed of my business, that I employed all of my friends. I employed all of the people that I, grew up with. And I gave all of the people that were close to me multiple different chances and say, look, come on here. If I'm going to pay somebody, I might as well pay you, and I put them in every facet of my life, anything. And what I did was I would say, look, what do you love to do? And when they say, how I love to do this, I'll try to make a job out of it and add it to my business. I had a friend who, they love to do music, so we have a podcast. I haven't recorded for a while, but we did, and he did all of my music on there. Any of the videos that I record that you might see me posting, he does all the music on there, so I'm like, I'm gonna pay you to do it, so. And he worked in my restaurant. It was very, very successful. And, unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody. You try to take everybody. And I will say that's been the most challenging part for me, because at one point you have to realize that, everybody is not meant for you to go through every single season of your life. And then when you start seeing those leaves fall, and you don't want those leaves to fall because you're like, this is my friend. I love this person. I want you to go. And you're like, no, no, no. But it's time. And it doesn't have to be any animosity. It doesn't have to be any, hard feelings. It's like, look, it's just that season is over, and we got to keep moving forward. We here now, it's not a little RVA cafe. And that's the thing. When you at RVA cafe, little 1,200-foot shop on Broad Street in the back near Dollar Tree, the whole big difference when now you're on a world stage and you're talking to heads and CEOs of businesses.
Absolutely. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the fact that I learned quickly from my grandmother. Again, her biggest lessons to me, and a lot of the things that she used to tell me in scripture, is that your words have power. And, and it was another conversation that I had with one of my best friends growing up, was that, you have a mouth and you have an ears. So you can hear the words that you speak. Right. So if you're speaking negativity, you're hearing that and you're soaking that in. And so I've mixed those two together, and everybody is around me knows my one thing that I stand on my hill for, and I will never, ever kind of stray away from it. I am retiring at 35. Now, I'll tell you.
Jeff, I was literally just about to bring that up because you wrote that in my questionnaire.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that.
That's that. That's what it is. That's the truth.
Every chance you get to say that, you say
I'm
it.
telling you, and let me tell you why I say it, right? Because I hold myself accountable. And if I tell you, well, guess what? This is a podcast. This gonna be on radio. This gonna be on, Instagram, and hey, y'all going up just as well as I am. So now I'm gonna be hearing this all over the world, and I'm like, well, wait, episode 57. She done said, I done got on here and said, I'm retired at 35 and I'm sitting here 45, not retired. I look like a liar. Nope. Y'all ain't catching me.
But how old are you?
I am about to turn, because it's 2022 now. We getting up there. About to turn 32, but I'm 31 right now.
Okay.
So I got 3.5 or 4 years ready.
We'll give it 4.
Yeah, we'll give it 4, but and I tell everybody that. I tell my friends, I tell my family, and best believe, I tell Nicole, look, we is done. We is out of here. I am going to Africa and I am not coming back. So y'all got me until 2025 and I am out.
Oh my goodness. No, I love that. I think there is so much power in how you think and what you say. And it trickles down to what you do. So yeah. Look, I'm rooting for you. I'm here for it.
Oh yeah.
We're the same age. I need to be confident enough to speak that over my life, but I ain't got there yet.
Hey, if I could be a pillar of hope to you, look, be confident. Say what you want, say what you mean, and just keep speaking it, because words, they have so much power. And like you said, this journey that I'm on, I don't know how I got here. All I know is I've been saying this for a number of years. Yeah. And I said, I'm retired by 35, and somehow, some way, there's a next step to get me to that goal. And it's just right there. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna take it. And one thing, I know we got to go, but one thing I will say is, for entrepreneurs, because I know this is a podcast based on entrepreneurs, always say yes. That's it. Always say yes. If you're an entrepreneur and somebody has given you a door, somebody's giving you a chance, somebody said, well, can you, handle this? Can you do this? Always say yes and figure it out later. That's it.
Wow. Well, you just answered my next question. What advice would you give? I think that's great advice. I think that's very scary advice. But can you imagine if we said yes to the things that scare us?
Because if you say yes, you at least open the door to see what's behind that door. And now you get to make a clear-cut, educated decision, right? So nobody's saying say yes and stay in it forever. Now, if that was a bad decision, at least you're able to make an educated decision and say, okay, that's not for me. Now you go the other way. But if you're around here scared and saying no, you don't know what opportunity you're missing. And just because you feel like you're not good enough now, let me tell you now, working in this K-Box, I tell my whole team, they hear me all the time, we are all underqualified. When I say, no, I want you to be clear about this. I have weekly conversations with 2 calibers of people, Michelin star chefs, that I'm like, well, I just went to Stratford. I just graduated like a couple of years ago. What I got to tell you, asking me what's gonna go well with this sandwich? Like what? You were the Michelin star chef that literally ran Gordon Ramsay restaurant at the highest skyscraper in Dubai. What I will tell you. And then the other part to that is I'm literally talking to people around the world that has done so many big, great things. So I talked to the guy who's literally was on a Forbes magazine before I was born, that literally is credited of bringing Burger Kings to the entire country of Spain. So, I'm like, well, are you asking me questions?
That we all still trying to figure it out.
So like I said, just say yes. Figure it out later.
Yes. Say yes, figure it out later. Well, let's end with this. Where would you like to see yourself? Well, and look, no, I can't end with that because you already told us where you want to be in the next few years.
You already know. You got that answer. Yeah. I'm in Africa. You go, and best believe at your we got. I don't know how many episodes you guys do a week, but episode 350, 400. I'm gonna be in Africa and I'm gonna show y'all my background. Say, hey, we made it. Invite y'all out there. We gonna all celebrate.
Oh, we coming. I'm ready. I love it. Okay, well, let's try this. So I feel like you gave good advice to help entrepreneurs get started. What about business owners to help them keep going through the tough spots, through the challenges, through the uncertainty? Any advice to help people keep going?
Yeah. The best advice is the simplest advice, and it's honestly the hardest advice, I would say. You wanna be open and you want to listen, because as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we start to get a pride. This is my business. I did this. I grew up. I was in the trenches, in the mud, in the dirt, and the sweat and the tears, and that is very, very proud thing to be. But a lot of times we get too prideful, and then we think we know it all. And then when someone comes and says, I know something better, they don't listen. And I could say that has been one of my even greatest challenges, is selling and getting people to, sign with me, right? And say, hey, I can be a consultant with you. Sign with K-Box. I'm going to give you this technology that's going to pretty much change the fabric of your restaurant. They don't believe me. They're like, no, you know what you're talking about. You're 31, you only been doing this for a couple of years, XYZ. Meanwhile, they're struggling. I see them struggling. And I'm like, look, just let me help you. Yeah. And it's like, they don't want to be helped because we're too prideful. So I would say, be open, because someone somewhere, knows a little bit more than you. And a lot of times people, we're in a world that's really negative, and people don't believe people at all, right? And they're like, I don't think they're really for me. I don't think, they're truthful. And I get it. It's a lot of charlatans out here. But, if you just shut everybody down, you could be missing a blessing. I'll be honest with you. I have a couple of restaurants that you can ask, and I'm sure they'll be on your podcast after a while, that will credit me of saying, look, if Daquan didn't come into our restaurant at the time, we'd have been closed down for good. And that's not something that I'm just saying, just to be boastful, but it's just something to teach people and say, look, I don't know a lot. A lot of people know a whole lot more than me, but this right here, this virtual restaurant, this delivery, I know a lot. And I've talked to a whole lot of people around the world, and I would say I'm probably top 5% in this whole thing, right? Yeah. And I try to tell people, look, do this. And a lot of times I just help people, that's the biggest thing. So I would just say, look, you're struggling. It's hard out here. Keep going, but also be willing to listen. Have open ears and ears of understanding.
Yeah, and be willing to transition, because if you look at your journey thus far, and you're still, I know you only got about 4 years left, but you're still, early on. So many transitions, but it all led you to where we know you were meant to be. So be okay with being open to new ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm. Be okay with change. Change comes. We go through seasons. Be okay with it, and roll with the punches. And you're going to see a lot of things open up for you. And then even outside of this, be okay with diversifying. Be okay with saying that, hey, this, I made this, a hard decision to me was, I want my name to be at the top. I want it to be all Daquan. Nobody helped me. Nobody got in the way. I didn't do this. I'm not a sellout, blah, 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 right? And especially as Black entrepreneurs, we're big about that. Like, this is all the way 100% Black owned. And I support that. Best believe if you can do that all power to you. But understand that there's other people in the world that want to help. And, when you get to real big businesses and you start to, we're not talking about LLCs now. We talk about corporations. We talk about conglomerates. We talk about these big businesses that are building dynasties. You just take like Amazon, for example, right? Big as Amazon is, they buy companies all the time. Amazon's only big because they are, going with different companies. They are partnered with Whole Foods. These big companies, they don't just get this big just because they say, I'm gonna do it all myself. Right. They say, no, we gonna give a little, take a little. And that's what I would tell people is that, if I didn't open my eyes up to see the value of really partnering with different people that may know something, that may be on a different journey than you, they may be ahead of you. And you say, look, I can use this to, still do and funnel, necessary funds into what I want to do. That's all you have to do. There's no different than at the start. What's at the start is almost 99% of the times at the end. And when you have to start, you going to work, right? And you using your money from your paycheck to probably pay for your business. Well, it's the same thing at the end. Now you doing your business and you making business deals to maybe partner and work with somebody else, right? And all of the money is coming to 100% is not coming to you. Now you got to share a little bit of profits, but now you get to take that and funnel that into your business. That is 100% you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that leads to what we can do to support you. So you're looking for an apprentice?
Yeah, I'm looking for good people now. We off to the moon. I'm looking for two people, a salesperson, somebody that's really, really good in sales, that's really, looking to kind of take this journey. That's really good, really enthusiastic with the sales piece. They're really good with all of that. They might have gone to school. They may not. They don't need to go to school. Yes, I support college, but it ain't all that it is, right? So, I'm looking for somebody that's that, because I have a lot of opportunity to sit at a world stage that, again, I want to take people with me. So if anybody that listens to this is a salesman, they know a person that is good in sales, that is like really trying to, take it to the top. I have a sales guy on my team. He's pretty good, but he can't do it all. So we're looking to add some people to the pot. And yes, an apprentice, someone that has maybe similar backgrounds, that really just want to go along the journey, that want to learn and kind of want to be the right-hand man, the second, and say, look, I want to do this right along with you. I'm ready. I'm ready to teach and diversify and teach my, fellow people to say, look, this is not a one-off chance. I just listened to Will Smith's book, Will, which was great, amazing. Yeah, I suggest anybody to read that book. It is really great. Well, you got to listen to it because it's him, and it's really entertaining. But I would definitely say, that taught me that, a lot of times, and he was very, very open, but a lot of times we get very successful, Black men in the tech industry, in the entrepreneur industry, that just have made it. And then it's like somewhere along the lines, we miss that journey. We start hearing about them when they're already there, right? And we don't hear all of the hardships, all of the things that have gone through that journey with them. So I'll be honest, I really want to document a lot that I've gone through and a lot of things that I'm doing, because I feel like it can be like a light to shine on for our culture and let people know entrepreneurship, one, is not easy, but it's not impossible, And that's really what I want to do. So yeah, an apprentice. And then the third person, because I don't think I put it in there, but I need a media person. Somebody that likes a camera, that just want to follow me and record. That's it. Again, do that whole documentary thing and, really be good at that. And they obviously have to love it. And I'm not trying to say I want somebody a patsy for me and just say, you're going to follow me and do whatever. But look, that's what you love to do. And you just want to get a bunch of content, put it out. Because like I said, this right here, we're about to change the world. And, I want to put any things out there, but I'm going to call you guys out. So don't worry. Because, I think you're one of the first podcasts that have invited me.
We should have got you sooner. I'm a little mad about it, but it's all good.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you one of the things, I'm definitely taking you out with me, because we already have a potential invitation. So I'm gonna tell you exclusive right now. You're
giving us all the exclusive tips on the Ground Up podcast.
Now. We have a potential, because they schedule so far out. I didn't know this, but have a potential date to be on the Breakfast Club. So
shut up.
I'm taking you with me. Don't worry about it, girl. We can be up there. I'm calling y'all out.
I guys mention my little podcast on the Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. That's amazing.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. I'm gonna get you up there. You gonna be up there. Don't worry. I'm gonna give you the little tag, like go to minute 9 and 39 seconds. There you go.
And watch Fangirl over the Breakfast Club.
So,
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for you. And thank you so much for being on here and sharing your journey. I like to do things a little differently when I interview chefs. I usually play a little would you rather this or that game at the end. But for you guys, I like to know, what is your death row meal? So this is hypothetically, this is the last meal you're going to have on earth. What would that be? Appetizer, main course, dessert?
Oh, that's definitely my French toast.
Okay, French
I
toast.
eat French toast all the time, but I'm gonna take it even lower with you because I want to make sure everybody understand where you came from. Noodles of noodles, ramen noodles. I'll kill those things, boy. Hey, I'll be in there chefing up some ramen noodles.
Oh, so
Don't
you mix it up. You put your own little zest on it. Yeah, I love that. Oh, I love it so much. How can our listeners reach you, Chef DQ?
So they can reach me. I'm on Instagram. I be out there in the streets, blah blah blah. So I'm Chef DQ _ Red Indigo. So you can reach me there. Facebook. My name is my name, Daquan Woodberry. Just search me. There you go. You're gonna see a lot of them. I don't think. And or even on LinkedIn. I want your listeners to know, for entrepreneurs, LinkedIn is a really, really good tool. Be on there more than you honestly are on Instagram. That's where the real business is happening. I'm telling you that for a fact.
Dropping nuggets right there, y'all. Thank you so much for being on the Ground Up podcast. Y'all, will be back on Monday for another episode, helping you get started in entrepreneurship and keep going. Talk to y'all soon.
Thanks for listening to the Ground Up podcast. If you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button, rate, and leave a review. You can find us on Instagram at the Ground Up podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're really feeling us, become a Patreon, or as we like to call them, a friend of the podcast.